Hey, Chay and SJ. If there isn't two greater people that I would rather spend my lunch hour break with, it is these two. If it isn't the man that put the all night in Chay all night long, uh,
We.
and the woman that put the initials SJ into SarahJane, it is Chay Long and SarahJane. For anybody that's tuning in for the first time and they haven't seen one of these before, what we do is look at the league, our opponents, people that we're going to be facing, and we approach it from a Wrexham perspective. So we get an expert like Chay himself, who is here to give us the opinion. Well, I'm being generous, I'm being generous. We get the expert opinion from Chay or whoever it will be, and they will tell us from a rectum.
Oh,
This
is a good
done.
start to my first welcome to Wrexham.
Welcome.
Teach me how to Wrexham. This is a great one.
No.
You've got to keep that in.
No.
Yes. Oh my God. That's the
I'm gonna have
best.
to recover now.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
Oh, damn it. I'm glad. See, this is why it's not live. This is exactly why it's not live.
But it's exactly why it should be live.
Yeah, okay. Well, so we look from a Wrexham perspective of how we feel about the team, the town, their city, their customs, and stuff like that. If you are a new subscriber, you may know Chay Long from the comms team, from the commentary team at Wrexham. That was the primarily audio that is now switched to the video. So you might have seen him also from the games with clips. He's also a part of the team with Dragonheart Podcast, the oldest football podcast in the world. I think that's correct. Is that correct?
It's Mark's final whistle, but it's sort of under the same umbrella sort of thing.
Yeah.
Along those lines anyway.
Okay, and then we have SJ Superfan, who actually was on an episode of Dragonheart, if I'm correct. So a crossover special here from when she went in person, flew all the way over there and caught Wrexham in action. Chay, without further ado, yeah.
I've got to say, the Dragonheart episode, SarahJane was one of the best in the studio as well. I got to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to take all the credit for that. Thank you.
Yeah, SJ, your back should hurt because you carried the whole team that day.
So much.
Well, without further ado, Chay, who are Forest Green Rovers?
Wow. They're such a unique club, I've got to say, Ran. In all fairness to them, their philosophy on everything outside of football, I quite like. They're very, very big on eco-friendly everything, basically. They don't sell any meat in the ground. They've got a special pitch. And Dale Vince, the owner of Forest Green, owns a eco-electricity company. He launched the world's first zero-emissions airline. So he's a big deal, to be fair, in the ecosphere. And he sort of transferred that philosophy into everything to do with his football club, but he's also a sugar daddy owner as well. So back in the day, Wrexham fans weren't so big on Forest Green. So we'll get a bit more into that in the future. I wasn't just Wrexham fans in general, but they're a very, very strange club, but I'm sure we'll delve into that further on to the podcast.
Oh, so he used to own an airline. Does he still own the airline? If we know the name of it?
It's called the base company. I'm not too sure if he still owns it, but he is still thoroughly involved in eco energy companies. He's got his fingers in a lot of pie. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
he's a very, very rich man. Let's say that.
Well, and airplane footprints have to be some of the biggest footprints for carbon emissions. Yeah. So him stepping in that sphere of, I guess, trying to tackle it or solve it is just like a huge and daunting. It's almost, you would think just change your method of transportation at that point if you're trying to be eco. But good on him. Good on him for at least trying to take a step. Well, what are some of the stuff you were mentioning, like the veganism? Like, how did that go over with I guess the average supporter?
Not good. To be fair, your average fan, and this is not just Wrexham, your average fan will go to a Forest Green Rovers game and they'll just moan and complain, oh, there's no meat here. I'm not going to eat that. Which I've got to say is a little bit pathetic, to be fair, because their pies won Football Pie of the Year a few years ago. So it must have been pretty good. Mark Griffiths will be very happy on Saturday. I've got to say that. Mark Griffiths was very excited for the food because he really enjoyed it because they did things like falafel and things like that. Ooh. I've been once and they didn't serve any meat. I didn't see any problem with it. If that's his philosophy, I get it. He's trying to improve the the environment and what have you. But again, is it all a bit self-loving, if you know what I mean? Is it just look at me? I'm owning the first eco carbon neutral football team. Is it a bit of a vanity project rather than him trying to make a difference? Is he really trying to make a difference, or is it a vanity project trying to grab headlines? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like part of the pushback is you're saying vanity. So people are like, don't get too sure of yourself. And so the lack of appreciation is the fact that he's confident in what he's doing.
Yeah. Is he trying to, is it a big publicity stunt for him to get people talking about him? Yeah. Or does he really care? I'm sure he does care about green energy because that's what he's invested in. But is he also trying to do it to profiteer to try and sell his product more as well? Yeah. Does he really care? I don't know. Like, I was talking to Mark about it yesterday, and they released their first organic pitch, which is great. It captures the rainwater. Yeah, exactly. It captures the rainwater, it recycles it back for irrigation. It saves tap water, and they use that water for the away toilets or something along those lines. I don't quite know how it works, but yeah, it's great. There's all these headlines, and everyone's saying, "Oh, this is the future." When they first did it, from what I can remember, and even when I went there, the quality of the pitch wasn't great. It looked a bit Sunday League-ish. So
that's a new term I haven't heard before.
Yeah, a bit Sunday League-ish. Yeah, for people who aren't aware, Sunday League football is your football in the park, basically. So what you see from like your basic pub team. But yeah, I'm heavily conflicted as a club because Dale Vince it is a sugar daddy club. It's a guy that's come in, invested a hell of a lot of money. They've punched way above their weight. They're in League One last season. They got relegated. It looks like they could get relegated again this season. And if they do get relegated, they've probably found their level. And to be fair, if they got relegated again, they found their level. Look, all you have to do is look at their attendances. They're not a big club at all. They've been carried by a rich owner, which gets a lot of people's backs up, which, is controversial, me saying that as a Wrexham fan now, but it's a completely different story. It really is a completely different story to what we've had, because we've always had a base, and we've always been a naturally a footballing town.
Yeah, an organic footballing town. Yeah.
Yeah. But not an organic pitch yet.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he's trying to buy supporters? Like you said that we have like a legacy of attendance is that like, maybe is it just because of the constrictions of how many people can fit in the ground, or is it like an actual
right
just doesn't have supporters?
I'll pull you up their attendances from the last few games. 1 second, I do have them here. So this is a season when they were top of the league and we finished 13th in the National League. It was a poor season. Dean Keats came in. It looked like we were relegation bound. Dean Keats came in and saved us. They had the attendance was 3,472 and the away attendance was 63. The last home game before that, the attendance was 3,891. The away attendance was 89, and the one before that it was 2,044, and they had 35 away fans in attendance, which for a side that's pushing for promotion in the National League, it's pretty poor, to be fair. And their home attendances when we've been there, the most they've had is 2,000 odd. And even then, Wrexham fans brought 568 of those fans. And this was pre-takeover as well. And it is a good 3.5 hours away from Wrexham. And it's really hard to get to. You can't really get there by train. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a really lovely area of Gloucestershire, England, I've got to say. But it's not a footballing area.
The pitch on the hill, or the little club on the hill.
Yeah, there's a big hill. You know, if you don't get parking in the parking area, it can be a real pain. There's no real pubs around there. It feels very strange when you get there, and I've only been there the once. I'm not rushing down there to get back there again.
Could you describe that area of that location? Because it's a bit of a trek away from Wrexham, but for us that aren't familiar with the area of, you know, the small town within the small town within the small area that is so obscure.
It's a place called Nailsworth. Well, it's Forest Green's grounds just outside Nailsworth. And if you just Google the images, it is your typical countryside English town. It's very pretty. It's quite picturesque, but it's I don't know, it might sound harsh. It's just not a footballing town, you know.
Okay.
It's if you know, the population is, you know, it's not many. It's a good few thousand. That's why they struggle to get barely anyone at the ground.
So everybody shows up for the games, is what you're saying. The whole population is there. They're capped only because people haven't been making enough babies. So Forest Green fans and supporters, if you're listening, get to work. Yeah.
But this is why I'm saying that they've been punching way above their weight. There's no way they should have been League One side in theory, and that's why you've got to give credit to Dale Vincione. He's obviously put his money where his mouth is and really believes in this project. They've had plenty of good players in the past. They've had a few good ex-Wrexham players. Danny Wright, he was a part of the 98-point season team. They've had Andy Mangan. They've had Russell, one of the goalkeepers we had ages ago, and he's invested a lot of money into this project, and you've got to say fair play. But it's just a bit strange. It's not like this episode here that's teaching me how to Wrexham. It's not like me talking about Notts County where I can pull up a billion things, or talk about Stockport, or, you know, talk about these epic clashes that we've had with or Crew, or any other football league side, or even Morecambe. You know, we've had clashes against these sides in the past which have been epic, and we've had some good games against Forest Green. Don't get me wrong, we'll get onto that in a little bit of time. But for me, they're a county football club. You know, the National League at best. And I'd even argue that them being in the National League is punching above their weight. So fair play to them for doing so well.
Is there an opportunity for them to grow organically, or is it a thing where you kind of are capped by the population that you sit in for the ability to grow to a larger club?
Well, maybe, you know, you can attract people from maybe just around the area of Gloucestershire as well, who are maybe vegans or really believe in the project itself of an eco football team. Maybe so, but they're going to be capped by the small population of the area, really. And that is what it is. And Gloucestershire, around that area, is, you know, it's a lot more cricket played and things like that. So
okay.
Yeah. What do you two guys think of the whole eco thing? You know, being American, it must be quite a unique thing to have a sports team so interested in, you know, saving the environment.
Yeah.
I know nothing about any sports anywhere except for in Wrexham. I'm a horrible person to ask about comparison to teams here. I will say though, in Portland, where I live, it's huge, like just in, you know, concern about environmental impact, and, you know, like our green can recycling, they switched I think this will hit a nerve in Wrexham, right? The trash. They switched our garbage to every 2 weeks, but then they increased the green can, like, which is all the organic compost, to once a week. So the idea is to shift, you know, when the landfill kind of to repurpose that for, you know, supporting the environment. And they contribute it to cows and farmers and stuff like that. So in Portland, at least, it's normal. It's just totally normal to have like vegan bars and vegan, I don't know, clubs. There's a vegan clothing store, you know, it's just kind of normal. So, but a part of what I hear you saying about the club is that it sounds like there's so few fans that it's the owner that's the main fan, and he's kind of run away with his own agenda.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the pushback. When I was looking up stuff about the grounds, I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, they're using seaweed and coconut shavings, I don't know what's that called, skin shell husks. They're using that. They're using the seaweed. He's bringing in tons and tons of sand to help 80 tons of sand each year to increase the soil profile. And then so, as far as like, there's also being from a coastal state, a soil erosion and stuff like that. I feel for that, but I wonder to what extent that it's obviously very good for the environment, but also offsetting for that. Like if you're importing 80 tons of sand that's coming from somewhere, and there's a other side to what kind of impact you're making elsewhere. I will say though, I thought it was super cool. He basically has a Roomba that cuts the grass. There's a little machine and they just send it onto the pitch and it just keeps the pitch mowed. And then only on game days do they use like a normal mower, which I just think is really funny.
Yeah, but is that taking away jobs from the working people of the area as well? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think of these things, really. They're a very, very strange club. Ran, you're a sportsman. What's your thoughts on this completely carbon neutral football team?
I think it's cool. I think it's cool because the novelty of it. Now, you're if you're asking the pulse of what does the average American sports person think, you have a specific diagram of who watches sports, and they're not necessarily the same people that are pacifists and vegans. That typical like overlay of those two people aren't typically the same type of person in the US. Most of the people that
I'm right in the middle of that diagram.
Most of the people that would watch sports also take a lot of pride in eating red meat. Like that's in America, that's also like hand in hand, because if you're going to go watch sports, it's, drop down your voice a little bit. I'm going to go watch sports and I'm going to eat some red meat, and we're going out there because that's what boys do. Saturdays are for the boys. Like that's
the beer can on the head.
That's the type. So the crowd in the US with the sports team doing like an all vegan, you probably would have even less attendance than Forest Green is getting.
Depends on where you place it in America, I suppose. If you really put it into an area where there's a high population of vegans, it probably could maybe catch on. But that's a very similar thing in the UK with UK fans. Like, oh, I go to games, I drink pints, I eat burgers. That's what I want no matter where I go. And I do think it's a bit short-sighted. Veganism is good for the environment, but on the flip side, it is forcing it on people who maybe don't. I don't know. I'm so conflicted with them. I'm so conflicted with Forest Green. They're such a strange club. They're a very unique club. There's a lot for me to respect, but there's a lot I think it's kind of just being propped up by one bloke. But on the flip side, fair play to him as well. He's obviously making some sort of success out of it. Now, if we look at past results, there's a few games I hadn't have gone to really, but I remember the last time we played and I listened to it on the radio, we lost 3-0 and it was completely awful, to be fair. We were a club on the downward spiral at that point. Slightly got picked up and saved by Dean Keats that season. The game before that, though, in the same season, we did beat him 3-1 at home, and McDonough scored 2 goals, and it was brilliant, really. That was a brilliant result against a side that was top of the league again, though. It just shows, they were a side at the top of the league and they only brought 60 plus fans, which it's not good, is it? Let's be fair. Last season, I can't remember a side that brought that little to Wrexham. The Wrexham back then is different to the Wrexham now. A lot of people, I suppose, a lot more fans from around the country are going to want to travel to watch their team play or their town play against Wrexham. Just the simple fact they think the owners might be there. It's a bit more of a spectacle, etc. So I'll give him respect as far as that goes. But as far as memorable games go, I remember the 98-point season, and have you heard of the 98-point season?
Yeah. So, Mark talks about it a lot.
Yeah, it's a season that really, really hurts Wrexham fans quite deeply. Still to this day, I get upset about the 98-point season. But one of the games that really kicked us in the teeth was Forest Green away. I remember listening to it on the radio. I was probably listening to Mark, but bearing in mind back then, we had a last-minute penalty to equalise, and Sam Russell, goalkeeper that used to play for Wrexham, saved it against Dean Keats, and pretty much, yeah, there's from getting any points and really stopped us from winning the league that year, and it really, really does hurt us. A few seasons after that, we played them and beat them 3-1 at home. Andy Morel, if you can find it online, I'll send the link to you, Ran, after game. Maybe link it underneath in the description. Andy Morel scores a goal of the season, volley. It's crossed into the box. He's turning away. You'll have to see it for yourselves.
Okay.
But
wait, is that like the scissor kick one or the?
It's not a scissor
like...
kick one. It's hard to explain, but he's facing away from the goal and he kind of just does this volley. It lands top corner. It's a beautiful goal, and we end up winning that game a couple of seasons after the 98-point season. But we always get, I suppose, Wrexham fans at that time, from what I can remember, were quite bitter about Forest Green. They had a couple of our ex-players, like Andy Mangum, who's an excellent striker for us, but he did leave for Fleetwood on the 98-point season with the team that ended up winning the league. Then he signed Forest Green after, and they signed a player called Danny Wright as well, who's an excellent striker for us in the 98-point season team and the FA Trophy winning season team. The season after that, and they signed him off us because they could afford wages that we simply couldn't afford. So it's a very similar thing to what we've done to a lot of teams recently as well, in all fairness. It's quite nice. I tell you what, as a fan with owners who've got a lot of money, it's quite nice. It's quite nice when the shoe's on the other foot. But when you're a team that's really struggling with being a fan-owned team, and you've got a team like Forest Green who are barely pulling a 1,500 fans a week, and they're nicking your best players off you, it does leave a really bitter taste in your mouth, I've got to say. But to be honest, other than that, I can't really have any other fixtures that really stand out from the top of my head. It's a very different situation coming this Saturday. Both sides at opposite ends of the table. It's a must-win for Wrexham, really.
Yeah, and at that, you have like teams that are in two completely different trajectories in times in what they're doing, and that is crazy. You've mentioned it a couple of times. You said, was it a sugar daddy or a sugar baby?
Sugar daddy,
yeah, a sugar daddy owner. Could you just say, like, I'm inferring what it exactly means, but could you just explain that a little more?
A sugar daddy owner is where a rich man buys a smaller club, let's say, and sort of pumps their money through the club to make them successful, rather than them being economically viable, if you get what I mean.
Okay. So it's not gate sales went up and you're winning trophies, you're winning cup games, and now you're getting a higher income, so now you can afford more players, and now you can expand. Yeah. They come in and
it's a rich guy coming in, and they chuck loads of money at it. Fleetwood are very similar back in the day. Can't think of the top of my head.
Do we have two sugar daddies?
No.
I hear you implying.
I wouldn't class Wrexham as a sugar daddy ownership, because we are actually making a lot of the money ourselves. It's the sponsorship deals Rob and Ryan bring in alone are good enough to make the club sustainable, and that's what Rob and Ryan are doing. They're trying to make the club stand on its own feet without them. Of course, they're paying a lot into their own money, and but in the long term, they'll get that back. With the sugar daddy owners, that's not necessarily true. They might not get that money back. A lot of the time, these sugar daddy clubs, they burn a big hole in their pocket. Like, say, Dover, for example, not so long ago. Dover used to do quite well in the National League, spent way too much. The owners ran out of money, and that means the club struggles.
Is that like Man City? They have unlimited pockets?
Well, when you get into Man City, and that's a completely different animal, because they're state-owned. They're a state-owned football club. So
yeah.
Oh, really?
They're owned by Abu Dhabi, I think, pretty much. Like Newcastle are owned by a consortium that's pretty much Saudi Arabia as well. So they're just going to have endless money forever. And that's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that.
No, I don't want to talk about polyamorous marriages either. Like just one sugar daddy. You don't need multiple. It gets confusing as it is.
People will say,
I'm sorry. I was just gonna. So we talk about support for the club and money coming in. I did see they played Birmingham last year and got into the third round of the FA Cup. So that's got to help them financially, like,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
getting the ticket sales from that.
Yeah, of course.
This year they got knocked out in the first round playing against Scarsborough. I'm gonna say this wrong. Scarsborough. Oh,
Yeah.
Scarborough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I couldn't really find any other financial contribution besides the owner. A lot of the fans do pitch in literally around the grounds and stuff, but financial wise, like, it seems like it's all from the owner.
Of course, you know, they have been promoted into League One very recently, and they've stayed in there. With the sugar daddy owner model, hopefully you plow enough money into the club that the club goes up the leagues, and then they can make that money back then. Whether that's happening now is another thing. But they have been in League One, so they would have made money organically and not in the conventional way, of course, but like we will do. But with this money club model thing, we are completely different to what other clubs who have got the sugar daddy model. Ours is completely different because we are sustainable. We are getting 10,000 a week soon, hopefully 12,000 a week with the semi-permanent cop coming, the temporary cop, coming up. So yeah. So Forest Green are a money club, Wrexham are historical, but now we have the money as well.
Yeah, we have two money guns that we just
but it's sustainable money guns. It's sustainable money guns.
Yeah.
But, you know,
some would say we're the most green financial, you know. and you know what? Even at the end of that movie, Julia Roberts married Richard Gere. So, you know, even if the sugar daddy comes into your town, at least we look like we're the Julia Roberts of this situation. We're not just a sugar daddies coming in, pumping and dumping and walking out. Like we, not literally, okay, not literally. Don't. What I'm saying is that there are a whole bunch of owners that historically have come in. They try to do something, try to reinvent the wheel, and it doesn't work. And then instead of losing money on an annual basis, they'll cut ties, sell the team, go into administration or something. I mean, things like that have happened with Wrexham before too.
Yeah,
with
of course,
with owners, and so this what they're doing, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, somebody's got to be first, right? Like somebody's got to be the first person to do sustainable. Their Roomba grass mower, their Mobot, I think they call it. Bayern Munich also has the same one. It's the same model that they use, and that's where they got the idea from, is already something that does work on a large scale, and that's a huge club. So they're doing it, they're making it work. But like you were saying, Chay, like, you have to have that area, the support around you, that kind of message speaks to you. Is that something you think with the veganism? Do you think that would ever fly in Wrexham? Like, if it went no meat on the concourse, or
oh, sorry. Yeah, I have to laugh at that, mate, because
you have to come back to reality.
It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And I personally don't agree with it. You know, I'm a meat eater. I have been a vegan. I was a vegan for a year. And I completely understand veganism, and I completely get it. And for me, people should be allowed choice. You know, you should be allowed to sell meat if you want to sell meat. But
it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
Do you think it would be an interesting, so when I went to Yeovil at the race course, we walked in and it was immediately like, I'm gonna get you a pint and a pie. And I was like, this is great. And I am normally vegetarian, but when I travel, I don't like to restrict myself to impose my own kind of thing. I want to experience all the culture and not just, part of it and block kind of some of it off. So I was like, ooh, delicious pie. And part of it is because the industrial farming complex in the United States is horrible. But
it is in the UK
I know,
too.
well, don't tell me that. I love the meat there. But yeah, so I mean, coming from living in a country, Wrexham being in a country where they're known for their sheep, they're known for their meat in a certain extent, but when I walked in, I was like, this is great. I would, however, also enjoyed if there was one vegetarian pie. It would be an interesting, I think, maybe
Was there no cheese and onion?
experiment to see. I don't know. Nobody offered me that.
Cheese and onion pie is a staple usually in the UK as well. So they usually, to be fair, we are good with the vegetarian options. I must say.
You wanted the vegan option though.
Yeah, a vegan option. Yeah,
it'd be a flaxseed. And
falafel. It's almost always falafel.
To be fair, let's be open-minded. Their pie won Pie of the Year in football grounds, so it must be good. Mark Griffiths, he spoke very highly of the food there, and that says a lot. He said a lot more, spoke more highly of the food than he did the rest of the club. So that says a lot.
They got Mark Griffiths Pie of the Year.
A Mark Griffiths pie. Well, we'll have to ask him to taste test some vegan foods on Saturday.
Well, and to that, a lot of vegan food is absolutely delicious. And there's like Indian cuisine, a lot of vegan, like tikka masala. I absolutely love. So the veganism, a huge pull. Obviously, that's only going to work at this moment in select cases before it moves on and gets bigger as a lifestyle choice, just like recycling didn't take off immediately, but now pretty much everybody everywhere recycles and doesn't have a problem with it. It's just a small number of people that have a problem with recycling. But yeah, that being said, I did want to bring up a little crest and badge for
one
you
of
both.
My favorite parts of the pod.
So I know Chay is familiar with the crest and badge. Before we look at the current one, did you want to speak on their old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a complete rip-off of a Barcelona badge. And I've got to say the Barcelona badge is one of my favorite football badges. It's so iconic. But I remember seeing it as on like an old program when I was a kid, or I seen it on the internet when I was like 13. I was like, oh my God, it's just like Barcelona. It's amazing. And it's like black and white stripes instead of the blue and red stripes that are on the Barcelona flag instead of the Catalonian flag. It's just green. And I gotta say, Ran and Sarah, I much prefer it over their new badge. I've got to say.
Yeah, and now for people that aren't familiar with the Barcelona badge, I will pull that up and I'll have that to see side by side. There is some interesting stuff as far as the symbolism that's going on. Now, they did have their old Forest Green. So each one of the towns over there, Sarah, if you have seen any of these episodes before, you would have seen us talk about a lot of the badges get adapted from their town crest or their town badge. And so there's some symbolism on their town crest that did cross over onto the football. And originally it was just the town crest was the same badge and crest for the team as it was for the town. Does anybody want to take a stab at what any of the symbolism is on the badge?
Well, I'm just going to pull it up here so I can
go for it. Go ahead and
actually reference. There's a lion and a unicorn fighting. I would say maybe they're playing football. It actually looks like a volleyball. So maybe they're into multicultural sports over there. And then maybe the stripes, maybe that's alluding to their previous badge.
I'm getting, is the lion something to do with being English?
Oof. Okay.
That's the only thing I don't have a clue about the unicorn. I don't like the badge. Aesthetically, I don't like the badge because it just looks like something you'd make in year 7 class, clip art IT. I've got to say, it's just not, it looks too modern. Why is there a unicorn on there? I don't know. Ran, please tell me.
Okay.
Well, can I just
go
say,
ahead.
though,
Go ahead, SJ.
It looks like the unicorn has a nice little set of pearls on, and then the lion is all like chest puffy with a crown. So, maybe they're just like a blended family.
So, yeah, I mean, yes, the lion, Chay, you're exactly right. The lion representing England. So originally their town crest composed of that shield, that crest that was split into 4 different quadrants. Those 4 different quadrants were representative of the unified countries that are on in the UK. So symbolizing England, Scotland, Ireland, but not Wales. In the 4 quadrants, they had, if you would, the upper left and the lower right were both represented by England. They didn't consider Wales its own country at the time. They considered it as part of England, so it didn't get its own quadrant. So possibly we would have seen sheep on here at some point in time. So there was a harp representing Ireland, the unicorn representing Scotland, and I'm not familiar with Scottish lore or history, but maybe unicorns are prevalent in Scottish culture or history.
I was like, if I had thought some serious thought into that, then that would have been, and I'm not sure why either. Scotland has the unicorns. I'll make no fairy tale references. But yeah, that's as soon as you said it, I remembered the Scotland unicorn connection.
It's a symbol of purity, innocence, and power in Celtic mythology, the Scottish unicorn.
Yeah, so I'll add some more beauty to that. So if you notice, there's something around the neck of this unicorn. It's actually chained, and that is to chain the Scottish freedom. And so it is actually chained and held down because it is the symbolism of Scotland for it, to be managed and controlled. The rampant lions, which is that pose, that the lions do on many of the royal symbolism. That's exactly what it is. It's that royal symbolism for England. And they dropped the harp though, so there's no Irish reference on the current badge. And so they brought back the unicorn, but they still do have it. It's still chained. It still has a collar around it with the. Now it doesn't look like there's chains falling from it now, but it still has the collar and the.
Well,
I've completely changed my mind about their badge. I don't like it anymore.
Welcome to the UK, and what the big country, let's say, thinks of all the other nations. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, and with any club that was doing eco-sustainability and going green, you would think they'd be the last ones to be like, let's have a symbol of a chained up country like unicorn.
Well, Ran, I think that epitomizes the club itself. I think a walking contradiction in many ways.
Well, and everybody, that's Forest Green. This has been.
To be honest, I hope no Forest Green fans actually watch this, because I've slaughtered them this podcast, to be fair. And I genuinely do respect all the eco things that they are trying to accomplish. And I do respect that. And hopefully other football clubs like us take a leaf out of their book, because sustainability, for everything it's what we're going to have to do at some point in the future anyway. And fair play to them for doing that.
Yeah, I have a lot of young kids that come in to my work that I'll interface with, and I constantly just apologize. I'm like, look, we're giving you this world, and we didn't take care of it. We didn't do what we had to do. So not only do you have to just negotiate life, you need to also fix all the stuff that we neglected before you showed up here. Oh, hey, some thumbs up. I guess Zoom is I gotta watch what symbols and hand gestures I do before it highlights it. But no, to that point, we definitely need more of that stuff in all aspects and areas around, just so that we do have a better place for the people that are coming behind us. I'm glad that people do it, but like any group that there is out there, you can't hide it from having, the assholes or the 10% of people that ruin it. So, that guy who bought the club in, I believe, 2010, which I'll point out, when he purchased the club, the sugar daddy, Dale Vince, when he purchased the club, almost technically they were relegated out of the football league. They were in the position that would have been relegated, except for Salisbury coming up for some financial fair play, had points deducted, and ended up saving them and keeping them into the football league. So he actually, did come in and was like the savior, like the Robin Ryan of, like, hey, we're going to steer this ship right. Yeah. I would love to go and try their food there. I'm not going to be there to try it out, but I'm definitely one who I'm open for anything. I'll go try that out. I'll eat it out. Or
Ran, what's the matter with you today? What's on your mind, mate?
I can't let that one slide. So I'll definitely go try their food and I will definitely eat the food if I go there.
Wait,
That
how
is
did the
what's making it
podcast-
in.
How did the podcast start here? Welcome. Wait, teach me how to
Welcome.
what?
Teach me how to.
Look, this is why editing exists. So that because at that point, like I'm going to cut all of this. Well, before we look at the match on Saturday, I did want to point out just a little etymology, and it's not much because most of these towns and most of these cities that we look at, it's a great name that doesn't mean really anything in English, or we don't realize what it means in English. So we break down the Norse or the Germanic or the Celtic language that form the common word that we're using these days. This one is Forest Green. Not much to break down on it. Forest just comes from Latin. So forest meaning outside, F-O-R-S, and for forestis silva, which means wood, outside wood. So the word that we use today, forest, just means outside from Latin. And then in Old French, where we get foreign from, also comes from that outside. So something that is outside is foreign, also comes from forest. Same root word. And then green is Germanic. So that's Old German or Proto-Germanic that got changed to Old English, which is green in German is just grün. And so it came from grün, and then over time, Old English to modern English became green. And so, yeah, not too much, no gods and stories of past conquerors or anything in this name. Two really basic words, but yeah. So that was Forest.
I'm so nerdy. I love the etymology. I love it. The connection of forest to foreigner, like it's little stuff like that's so good, so great.
Yeah, the band. It is, yes. It is connected directly to the band Foreigner. Yes, that's it.
Oh, did I say?
No. Foreigner is
Okay.
It is related to Foreigner. I was making a horrible joke afterwards, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Well, with the etymology of the word, I've done my contribution. So I feel like I've brought all I could bring, which was about 1.5 minutes worth of content. Looking now at the matchup on Saturday, Chay, if you want to go first, Chay, go second. How do you feel?
I mean, if I haven't had time to look up their squad really and see how they play because I'm not covering the game on Saturday, so I usually only I know it sounds awful, but I only do research on teams that I'm covering, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But from a Wrexham point of view, look at them. Look where they are at the table. They're second from bottom, them and Sutton. We did struggle against Sutton this season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking a win for granted, but if we want to challenge for this title, if we want to be in that top three, Forest Green have had some really bad results recently. They won last night. No, they lost last night. Sorry. They lost to Bradford City. They drew against Warsaw, drew against Grimsby. They lost 3-0 to Tranmere, which is a really bad result because they're struggling this season. They're a team that's obviously really, really struggling for form. They're second from bottom for a reason. If we want to be challenging for a title, it's a must win. And we need to start getting this away form back on track for this title charge.
Yeah, 100%. And SJ, how you feel?
Well, I also did not look at anybody on their team, and all I know is that they're low on the table. For our side of it, I would like to, confidence in Chomp. He's probably, I would guess, going to be the one that's back in goal. And so confidence in Chomp, I want to go for a clean sheet. And then I don't know. I want to say 3. I really want Mullen to get his hat trick and, get up the table, so to speak, on our, club records of hat tricks. So I'm going to go 3-0.
Okay. And they're all Mullen. Wow.
I mean, a girl can dream.
Wow. I mean, it's happened before, so it can happen again.
I look at it though. We've got 2 games that we should be winning. We got Forest. This is a must-win for Wrexham because the Christmas period is going to be really, really tough. There's a lot of games coming thick and fast. We've got Colchester after Forest Green, and we have Newport, which is a bit of a derby. If we do not get all 3 points this Saturday, it'll be looked at as a really, really bad result, in my opinion. It's a must-win, but that doesn't mean we're definitely going to win. Forest Green could really turn up. a lot of teams will turn up against us. They want to feature on the documentary. Every players want to beat us. Forest Green will have quality, but I'm going to reiterate this again. If we want to win the title this year, Forest Green away must be 3 points.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where if we don't, then it's looking like the tone of being the dominant force is not as confident, and people can take to us, they can challenge us, and it gives more fire for the other teams. That there's an intimidation factor. If you're just winning and rolling over teams, a lot of teams are already scared, and they're going to be ready to get beat down.
Yeah.
And if we keep on getting slain by David, then it gives more Davids out there a chance to beat Goliath, and it gives them more hope. And so when you come out swinging and you get some early goals on and set the tone and set the tempo, that's hard to recover from. So like, I got to go back with Chay on this, that a win is very important. Like this has to happen. And if it doesn't, then there's questions that need to be answered of why aren't we beating a team that is our mirror image in the opposite direction in the league.
Yeah,
and if we aren't, what's Parky doing wrong? What's not going right? Because we've got the players to make this happen, and we should be able to win, and it shouldn't be, Accrington part 2. Sorry to bring that up.
I've got to say, with the Accrington one, the difference between Accrington and this is Accrington are a decent side, and it's a horrible place to go to. The weather was rubbish. We've got it's simple. I don't care how we win. I don't care if it's a horrible, scrappy own goal that makes us win 1-0 in the last minute. Something we just need that 3 point, because the Christmas period is rough on everyone. So we don't really want to be entering that Christmas period, Newport, the Boxing Day game in bad form. And there'd be nothing like, if we win, we'll keep that nice form going.
I do want to play a couple of things for you guys, and a few people sent me in their predictions for this match, and one of them is Scott Morton's daughter, who predicted her prediction was 6-0, and no, I'm sorry, 6-1 when we won 6-0. So she called those 6 points. She let me play it right here.
Hi, what's your name?
Sofie.
Okay. What's your prediction for the Wrexham men's team versus Forest Green on Saturday?
I think Wrexham will get 5 and Forest Green will get 1.
Cool. About Saturday, the men's team. We're playing Forest Green.
I think it might be 7-0.
Okay, we'll go with that. Thank you. Up the town.
Oh,
so that's pretty strong.
10-goal game. That's coming in fast for those goals.
A rugby score more than a football game.
Yeah. There's a couple more. I'll go ahead and play those right here.
Hello, it's Mia Roberts here. Just about to tuck into a lovely pizza, but before I do, predictions for Forest Green and Britain Ferry for the women's team. I'm going to go confident. I'm very confident. 2 wins for both. Men's team first up. I'm going to say 3-1. Mullin to Palmer 1 goal. I'm confident in that. I think we might concede, without Okonkwo. But still, I think Howard's going to hold out and keep us in for the win still. So I'm going to go 3-1 to the Reds.
Giving you my prediction now for Saturday, Forest Green. I think it'll be about 3-0. Should be 3-0 to Wrexham, but it is away.
Hi, Teach Me How to Wrexham. My predictions for Forest Green away is Wrexham for a 2-1 win.
I'm going to tell you my predictions for Forest Green against Wrexham. I predict 4-0. Up the town.
Hi everybody. This score prediction is brought to you by Wrexham Phoenix, getting all of your score predictions wrong since season 1 of Welcome to Wrexham. This weekend, Forest Green. Forest Green is currently at the bottom of the table. They're one of the teams that scored the least amount of goals and also conceded the most amount of goals so far this season. So I'm going to go bold with this prediction, and I'm going to say 5-0. I know that's really high, but under the circumstances with how well Wrexham's doing, I think they can pull it off. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. Up the town.
Hi, I'm Stace, and I think it's going to be 2-1 to Wrexham.
No, you
Up
do
the
not.
town.
2-1 Wrexham.
Who's going to score?
I don't know. Age fit flows.
My name is Taylor, but I think it's going to go 3-1.
To who?
Wrexham.
All right, yeah. So those are some bold predictions there. Chay, do you want to be so bold?
I don't usually predict scores working for club, but I am not working this Saturday, so I'm going to say 2-1 Wrexham. Forest Green will go 1 up, and we'll pinch 2 in the last 20 minutes.
And then SJ, you said 3-1?
No, 3-0. I want to have confidence in Chomp. Yeah.
Yes.
Aquankwo, that's rough. On his face, that's rough.
Yeah.
But he's done so well for us in goal. But last season, Chomp made a huge impact. We wouldn't have been promoted without him in goal for a lot of those games. So clean sheet. I like a clean sheet.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe Okonkwo's clean sheets will just carry on. And because the club is really starting to click. You got George Evans in the mid, who is just controlling, and man, he looks dynamite. Chay, what's your views on Evans?
Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he? Whether he plays centre half, he came on, he swapped positions with Hayden on Sunday, didn't he, against Yeovil, because Hayden come off injured. They stuck James Jones on. He just looks like a complete Rolls Royce. Classy, can read the game well, can shoot from distance, can pick a pass. Defensively, he's excellent. He's the real deal, and he's this new wave of Wrexham signing. And if this is the quality we're going to be bringing in the next few years, it's going to be very exciting to be a Wrexham fan.
Yeah, and I like that, calling him classy. It's Gorgeous George, the classic man.
He is the Rolls Royce footballer. Very classy, very technically sound.
Oh, yeah.
Do you, so I know when he was signed, there was a kind of emphasis on him being a utility player. So I'm assuming that means like he's strong and playing in different positions on the pitch. Going forward, do you think, in the transfer windows coming up in January, do you think that we are interested in like signing players that have more of kind of a utility, talent of being able to play in a few different positions? Or do you think that, specialization in a few positions are really what we need?
It's a tough question, that. I think we do have a couple utility players on the pitch already. We got the likes of George Evans, like you said, who can play holding midfield, centre midfield. We have Tom McConnell, who can play the holding midfield, centre midfield role. We've got Liam McAlinden, who can play left wing back, right wing back, and he can play in the centre attacking midfield. I do think we go for more of that specialised player. Do we need to sign someone in January? I don't know. I don't think we necessarily desperately need to, unless we have more injuries, or if Okonkwo can, pull through after this injury. We would need to sign a new keeper then. But to be honest, I would only sign players if we are going to sell some to make room. I'm totally confident in this squad. I'm not really worried about January really at all. I can't see anywhere on the pitch that we are looking very weak, unless we do have more injuries, more centre half injuries, because that seems to be the position at the moment. We have O'Connell, Tunnicliffe, Hayden. We don't know how long he's out for. That are all injured at this moment in time, and that could become a problem area. But so far, I'm really delighted with the squad.
Yeah, 100%.
And aren't a few players, Fletcher and Barney, are supposed to be coming back winter-ish, so I'm hopefully before the end of January.
Fingers crossed. I think striker's probably the only position that we would maybe look at strengthening. Maybe we put Bickerstaff on loan to get him some experience, and we bring in another striker. Who knows? I'm sure whatever Parky and his team concocting at this moment in time, I'm sure it's going to be good, and he's not really missed a beat with many of the signings so far.
I have a little bit of a soft spot for Bickerstaff. I really appreciate how much he stepped in to help out when Mullen was out. And at the same time, I want him to get minutes. I think that if he could get a role for a loan on a first team and be able to play every match, if we recalled him, we'd be able to put him on the pitch and have 100% confidence. And the trophy match on Tuesday, when listening to the commentary, it seemed like Mark was saying Bickerstaff, like, every couple of plays he would like in Bickerstaff. So he's definitely committed to I guess all players are, but I see his hunger, I would say, for getting minutes and improving his performance.
His work rate is excellent. Tell he really wants to play for Wrexham. He can tell he really wants minutes. What I'm worried for is, we've got Stephen Fletcher, we've got Ollie Palmer, we've got Paul Mullen. If we sign another striker, he needs to go out on loan. He needs minutes. He maybe go down to a National League or a National League North or South team to get minutes and be that star man at a team like Halifax or Kidderminster, a team that's maybe struggling in the National League who needs goals. Be really interesting to see how he would do at that level as the main striker.
Nice. Yeah, it's really interesting to see the dynamics of how it changes. And as far as like this being a rebuilding season, it's not. We're going for promotion again. And so you have to start looking at things in a little bit different light, where you would have more growth and growing pain opportunities. It's now there's less opportunity because not only do we need to finish out this season, but if we're going to be competitive in League One, then there's chess pieces that Parky needs to put into place as well. And his team's probably has some late nights figuring out everything that they're going to do. And I just realized, and this is my problem, I saw the green in the background and I was like, wow, he put a green up for Forest Green for so Chay has the green Wrexham kit, the Adidas one.
I think Bill said it was his favorite Wrexham kit that in the last few years.
That's one of my favorites. One of my favorite teams in one of my favorite away days in this background here. It was a playoff semi-final and we won. Against Kidderminster. I'll ramble on about that at a later date.
Yes.
Maybe if we get to the playoffs in the future.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the hint for everybody else that is tuning in. Chay has much more stories. We were covering Forest Green today. I think we did as good as we could do without offending everybody, possibly. I think that's what we strove for. But it should be a good match. And is there anything you guys could think about Forest Green that we didn't mention that we should have talked?
No, I think to be fair, I think we've covered as much all bases. To be fair.
I'm pretty confident in the information. I appreciate the insiders of information that Chay that you brought into this. Looking from the outside, I see different parts of the teams and think, oh, well, maybe that's interesting. And then hear like the opposing view and the like logic behind that. And it definitely helps me feel informed about where we're playing and the confidence of players going there. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I really appreciate the invite, guys. I know Rand's been wanting to get me on for a while now. And certain things have happened and I've not been able to make it, unfortunately. But it's been really nice. I've really enjoyed getting on here, guys. It's been nice looking back at the old Forest Green games because I spent my dinner time today looking at the highlights of the old Forest Greens we played years ago. And it's been nice to look back at how Wrexham used to be and how I used to watch them as a teenager or early 20s growing up. So it's been a nice trip down memory lane and remembering games that I completely forgot about as well. So thank you very much for inviting me, guys.
Thank you so much. And Chay, thanks so much for coming on. Anybody that wants to get in touch with Chay, what's your socials?
I am Wrexham Chay on Twitter, or X as we call it this day and age. And that's all my socials that I'm on, really. I do have an Instagram that's Wrexham Chay as well, but I don't use it. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am Wrexham Chay.
Fair enough. And SJ?
Mine is SJane. there's too many Sarahs in the world. And so SarahJane, or SJ, I get a lot of SJ. So SJane Wrexham. I only really join Twitter to Wrexham. So that's it. And that's like Chay, that's on all the, Instagram that I don't use very often, and Twitter.
Right on. Well, thank you both so much. Chay, thanks for coming on and teaching me how to Wrexham and how to approach Forest Green the Chay Long way. SJ, thanks for coming on and sprinkling some of that good greenery knowledge and eco knowledge. Also, for all of the Sarahs out there, you heard it here first. There's too many of you. She's coming for you. She's starting to eliminate them starting tomorrow. My hands are clean. Just all the rest of you Sarahs, start running.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And up the town.
Up the town.
Up the town.